Yeah, let's begin with prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you on this 14th year of Chungi, the 5th month and 26th month by the heavenly calendar, we're able to begin to study your word through the Poncheron, the worldly Poncheron that you have given us. We pray, Father, that we can be humble before the word and that we may be able to receive the voice that you are sending to us through your Shimjong, that we may be able to form a deeper relationship with you through this content. We thank you for all the brothers and sisters throughout the world who are joining and those who would like to join, have the heart to join, but for various reasons are not able. We pray that you'll be with all of us equally and that your will can be done. We thank you all for this report. In the name of Timothy, Oranino, Circle, bless your family. You. All right, let's see. I'm going to be monitoring the chat on the Zoom, and so that if you want to ask questions, you can do that. Thank you for joining from Sydney, Australia. And I don't know why my video keeps conking out, but anyway, we're here. Sometimes my face sort of does strange things, doesn't it? Okay. So, beginning today, we're going to be studying the worldly Poncheron, or the best translation that we have right now in English is the original substance of the divine principle. And we're going to be starting at the original idea was to start at 6 a.m. Eastern U.S. time, but 6 a.m. Eastern U.S. time is also the time that the king ends his morning kundoke, which goes 6 days a week. And as you saw this morning, that can sometimes go over. In fact, it almost always goes beyond 6 a.m. And today, I think, was particularly long, I would say. He had more to say. What he was saying was that he visited on Thursday, yesterday, he visited the new Car Arms Tommy Gun warehouse office and retail store in Morristown for the first time. And there was a dedication of that facility yesterday on Thursday morning. And he was commenting on how wonderful that experience was. As you know, Car Arms Tommy Gun Warehouse has a facility in Greeley, Pennsylvania, not far from Newfoundland, Pennsylvania. But now also it has expanded to Morristown, Tennessee. And so the king was telling the people who were joining Hundoke about that experience. All right, let's go to our main topic this morning, which is the original substance of the divine principle. And let's see, shared the wrong one there. That's not what I wanted to share. I want to share. Before we do that, before we actually go into the main slides, I want to cover some things that I covered 2 years ago when we last did the original substance of divine principle. And the first is to help you understand the Korean title of this work. The Worldly Poncheron has been published in Korean as a book. In English, we just have the study guide and we have the slides. But as you can see, in Korean, there was a book, the Worldly Poncheron, that was published. I believe this has been translated into Japanese, but not into English. And this was published prior to Father's passing. It was first published on April 5th, 2012, which is about 5 months prior to Father's passing, or Father's leaving his physical body. And then it was revised. A revised publication was published on January 30th 2020 on the 100th anniversary of our True Father's birthday. And but the meaning of a poncheron is something that really bothered me from the very beginning that I came into contact with this teaching. And I think, the sort of the powers that be, I guess you can say, came up with the translation of original substance of divine principle. But I just wanted to make sure that we understand what the word means. Here, I've taken this is a sort of a screenshot, I guess you can say, from an online Korean dictionary. When I'm looking up the word poncheron here, and here it is in Chinese characters as well. And here, this English is my translation of this Korean definition. So my translation of the Korean definition is field of learning that studies existence in all the fundamental and universal rules of existence. Field of learning that studies existence in all the fundamental and universal rules of existence. Well, that's very similar to what in English we would refer to as ontology. In fact, I think, as far as I can tell, poncheron is a translation of the word ontology. In the 19th century, China and Japan, particularly, not so much Korea, but especially China and Japan, were opening up to the West. And they came into all sorts of new philosophical concepts. Words such as freedom, for example, did not exist in Chinese, or many other philosophical terms in Western philosophy and theology had to be translated or somehow translated into the Chinese characters. And there was a lot of process for doing that. And so it appears that the word ontology was translated in two ways. And one of those ways was poncheron. The other is 존재론, and 존재 means existence. And so 존재론 means the field of study of existence, which kind of, is a pretty much a literal translation of ontology, of the Latin origins of ontology. Poncheron is a little bit different in terms of the meaning of the Chinese characters. Ponche. When we translate that back into English, I think the best way to describe it is that the ponche means main body or original body. Che is body. Pon can mean main or original. And for example, it's ponche is a word that is used in normal conversation, and whether it's in Japanese or in Korean. I don't know about Chinese. I don't speak Chinese. But, and I've explained this before, but if you have a computer, then you have various parts, right? You've got your main thing, contains the motherboard and the sound card, and it's got the hard drive in it, and it's got all sorts of other wires, right? And then, what's this? Well, Beverly is calling me. Beverly will have to call some other time. It says now, so this is the main body of the computer. And then you attach all sorts of things to it. What are you going to attach to it? We're going to attach probably a display, right? You're going to attach a display. You're going to attach maybe a couple of, or a speaker, or a couple of speakers. You're going to attach maybe an external camera. You're going to attach what else? All sorts of USB drives, maybe. So all those things are attached to the main body, to the ponche. And that's the ponche. That's the main body or original body. And in the original substance of divine principle, or in OSDP, we're going to talk about how God is the main body or original body of the principle, of goodness, of love. He's the main body of this, that, and the other thing. So this has been translated as original substance. Ponche has been translated as original substance. We may want to think about that in the future, because God is not substance. Because ponche is referring to God himself, and God is not substantial. He's not substance. Our Father teaches that even in the spirit world, we cannot see God. He is not substantial. He's completely spirit. And so if we want to see God, then God will reveal himself to us in the person of our true father, in whom there's also a true mother. So through our true parents. So anyway, that just to clarify that the meaning here. Okay, and I'm going to be looking from time to time at the chat on the Twitch to see if there are any questions there. And so far, I don't see any, so I will continue. Okay. All right. So with that out of the way, with that translation problem out of the way, let's go a little bit further. And originally we really should be studying this in Korean. Yeah, I'll talk about Spinoza there. We really should be talking about studying this in Korean. And I think just as a way of sort of setting a condition of doing so, I want to just give a very, 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 very truly basic introduction to Korean, because I know a lot of people, they see these lines and circles and everything that represent Korean language, and they get sort of scared about it because it's something I haven't really done before. So I want to show you how simple Korean is. Okay. Here you're looking at an English word, cat. We all know what a cat is, right? You're either a dog person or a cat person. Anyway, this is a cat. And this is the way we write it. We write it C-A-T in English from left to right, don't we? Okay. But we could write it this way, couldn't we? And there'd be nothing wrong with that. People could still read it as long as we made an agreement that we would write it this way. And if we did write it this way, then we would read it from left to right, top to bottom, right? We have 3 letters arranged left to right, top to bottom. So we don't write English this way. And of course, the way English is written, most English words probably could not be written this way, but I've chosen one that could be. Cat, left to right, top to bottom. And if we wanted to add another syllable, we'd do it this way. We'd have the one syllable like this and the second syllable like this. So we have catnip, right? Left to right, top to bottom, left to right, top to bottom. And that's exactly the way that Korean is written. So as long as you know the letters, then you can read them, and they're pretty much phonetic. I won't say completely 100%, but I'd say 99% phonetic. And here are the different Korean letters. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 14 consonants, and then 10 vowels. And sometimes these vowels get combined, but we have 14 consonants, 10 vowels for 24 letters, which I think is fewer than English. So you don't even have as many letters as English. So it's actually quite an easy language to learn. Here we have a Korean word, and we can go back to this list, and we can figure out just what this word says. Now, some of you I know have already been through this, and you already know this, but stick with me because some people don't, and it's really important that everyone at least get a start at learning Korean, because every time Father spoke to Westerners, somewhere in that speech there would be an encouragement to learn Korean. Okay, so let's set that condition. So here we have a Korean word, and here it's 3 syllables. Okay, and in the first syllable has 1, 2, 3 letters. We go left to right, top to bottom. So let's figure out just what these syllables are, what these letters are, I'm sorry. So here we have this letter, and we'll find it on this chart here. And here it is right here, kind of like a CH, all right? It's kind of like a hard CH, actually. In Korean, you have what are called aspirated consonants and unaspirated consonants. Aspirated simply means that more air comes out of your mouth instead of ch. So you're sort of blowing, it's sort of like blowing out a candle, all right? Like that. And so this is the ch, right? And here we have a vowel and then another consonant. So let's look at the vowel. Here, this is the vowel here. It's o. And then you have a consonant here, kind of like an in. So we can tell, therefore, that this first syllable is ch, o, n, or chun, right? Okay, chun, okay. And now we have let's look at the second syllable. And the second syllable begins with this circle. And looking here, this circle says here that this is a consonant and it sounds like an NG, except, there are exceptions, yes. Every language has its exceptions, right? Except that in Korean, the exceptions are consistent. which is very good. I mean, think of it in English. Think of all the different ways that OUGH is pronounced, right? Thought, though, ought, all those are spelled OUGH. But here in Korean, yes, there are exceptions, but they are consistent. Now, the rule with this consonant is that when it appears at the beginning of a syllable, it is silent. It is a silent consonant. And we have silent consonants in English too. Psychology, spelled what? Does it begin with an S? No, it begins with a P, doesn't it? The P is silent. So also with Korean, this is a silent consonant. And every time, without exception, it is a silent consonant when it appears at the beginning of a syllable, which is what happens here. It's the beginning of a syllable, so it's silent. So we can ignore it. Let's go. So left to right, top to bottom, we can go to the vowel here and check the vowel. And it says here that it's like an I, but like an Italian I, all right? So it's E, not short I or anything like that. It's E. So E, okay. And then we got this little thing here, this squiggly little thing there. And that's a consonant. And here we go. It says here that it's kind of like an R. Well, yeah, more or less like an R. But anyway, it's il. Yeah, if you thought it were an R, then you would pronounce it ear. But it's kind of between an R and an L. So anyway, it's il. All right. So we have chun, and here we have il. Chun il. So what's this one now? So this one, we don't have a left to right, do we? Because there's nothing on the left. So we're just going top to bottom. Okay. So and this is three consonants, and it's three letters. I'm sorry. First is a consonant, and then we have a vowel with the little thinking sticking out the bottom, and then we have the same consonant. We have the same consonant twice, and then a vowel in the middle. The vowel in the middle is a horizontal bar with a little thing sticking out on the bottom. So let's go back here, and this is the first one actually in the order of the letters, and it's kind of like a G. It says, okay. So then this is a kind of like, and here with the bottom, with the thing on the bottom, it's like here it says ooh, it says here you, so it's kind of like a ooh. So who. Pukjinim's name is spelled with this syllable also. Ku. Okay, so we have 천일구. So that's the word. That's 천일구. All right, so that is the condition we're setting to understand Korean. Okay, let's see here. Any questions there? I'm monitoring the chat on Twitch. So if you have any questions, please put them on the chat, and then I'll be able to see them. Okay, but I don't see anything right now. I see Sim Walter from Brazil is joining us. Thank you very much. From Santos, Brazil. And I see somebody here from Russia. Great. And someone from Sweden. Great. Okay, in Australia. All right, let's continue then. Okay. All right. And then let's switch now. Instead of this file, I'm going to close this file. And I'm going to start my other file. Okay. All right, now let's go to the lecture guideline file, which you can all download from sanctuary-pa.org/education. And then you check on programs, I think is the name of the tab, isn't it? Okay. All right. Be sure to ask questions if you have any questions. All right. So now, Father instructed that when we study Wolli Poncheron, we always begin with the family pledge. As you know, the family pledge is one of the 8 great textbooks and teaching materials that Father said were his final will and testament, last will and testament to the world. And so it is an extremely important document. Father also, as you'll see, it is the prayer of prayers, he said. So if you are unable to pray, I think just reciting the family pledge will be an extremely good exercise. So here, let's see if I can make this bigger. I encourage you to have your own copy. Let's see. I'm going to try to make this bigger. That should be good. All right. So the family pledge, the family is God's ideal of creation. And, in the Cheonseongyong that we're reading with the king right now, there's a great deal about the family. And Father makes the point that in traditional Christianity, the emphasis was on individual salvation. But in Father's teachings and in the Unification Church, the emphasis is on family salvation. I'm going to be using the term Unification Church. I know a lot of people think that Unification Church has ended and we no longer in it, but I think Father continued to use the term Unification Church right up until he shed his physical body. So I think we can go ahead and use that term representing the sort of the amalgam of all of the Father's teachings and the community around those teachings. So the family is the basic unit of the kingdom of heaven. And this is actually a very important point because it means that no one without exception goes to heaven alone. Some people are shocked when I make the point that prior to Father coming and prior to Father's holy blessing in 1960, no one could enter heaven. Heaven was empty. Even when Jesus was on the cross and said to the thief on the right and next to him, who testified to him right at the end moment there, that the thief would be with Jesus in paradise today. So Father says that the paradise is like a waiting room. Paradise is a waiting room, and it is not heaven itself. Paradise you can go to alone, but not heaven. Husband and wife, it has to be husband and wife, and even husband and wife is not enough. You have to go there with all your children, because it's a family, right? Not just a couple. You don't go there 2 by 2s. This is not the Noah's Ark. It's a family. It's a family thing. You have to go there with your children, all of your children, because what if one of your children is in hell? Then can you be happy in heaven? I don't think I can. I know I cannot. Not just your children, but also, Father says, your kinfolk. So this is why he encouraged us to have many blessed children and to bring many people to the blessing, not just because this was necessary to increase the membership of the Unification Church, but because this would be our foundation for being able to go into heaven. So it's the basic unit of the kingdom of heaven. And it's the training ground for Shimjong and true love that allows us to be registered in the kingdom of true love. Shimjong is one of those words that I believe should not be translated into English because there's really no meaningful word in English. In the past, I know the word heart was often used, but it's not. Heart it really does not even come close, I think. We're going to get into the definition of Shimjong. We're going to see, I think, a pretty concrete definition of Shimjong later on in these lectures. But just to give you a preview, it is a irrepressible impulse of the heart. Shimjong is an irrepressible impulse of the heart to do what? To invest love in an object partner so as to experience love and joy. Because God's core is Shimjong. And it is from Shimjong that we have true love. True love flows from Shimjong. God's love flows from his Shimjong. And it was because God is a God of Shimjong that he created the universe. Because Shimjong is an irrepressible impulse to invest love, to give love or invest love in an object partner. So he needed an object partner. And without the universe, without his created universe, he has no object partner in which to invest a true love. So he had to create the universe. People will say, well, yeah, but God had freedom. He didn't have to. Well, theoretically, he didn't have to, but he has this irrepressible impulse to, right? Irrepressible impulse. So he could not help himself but to create the universe because of his love, because he needed an object partner with whom he could experience love, because God cannot experience love alone. He cannot experience joy alone. He cannot experience happiness alone. All these things require an object partner. Now, Father gives the example of a singer on a desert island, on a desert island, on a small island, all by himself or all by herself. And so, the fact that she is a wonderful singer does her absolutely no good, right? Because there's no one to hear her. There's no object partner to whom she can sing. And so the singing does, even though she has this ability to sing, she has this within her, but actually, she herself cannot enjoy the joy of singing. And maybe she can sing to the trees and to the rocks, but even there, you see, that's an object partner, a very primitive object partner, but that is what it do. Let's see here. Hello, joining Santos. We see True Mother in the spirit world. I see here. So we will see a True Father and True Mother together. And I believe Father's teaching is that you will see True Mother within a True Mother. I'm sorry, within. She will see True Mother within True Father, because they are united as one in the spirit world. Okay. All right, thank you for that question. All right, I'll be looking over here to the chat from time to time. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat. Yeah. All right, and then also the family is the training ground. So it is the training ground for Shimjong. So Shimjong is something that we need to develop. We don't have it when we are born, but rather it is something that we develop through the growing period. It is an important part of our completion of our character. Okay. And here in the family is where is the core body, where tri-generational or three-generation love is unified for the grandparents, the parents, and the children, the love of the children. Okay? And the basic unit of order for society and the nation. And absolute sex, this is where absolute sex is taught and also practiced, realm of true love, true life, and true lineage, the sexual purity and purity of lineage and purity of love. We need to understand the discipline of love. Love is love, but love is we're going to be talking a lot about love, so let's get some idea of what it is right now. Love is the most powerful force in the universe. God did not create anything that was more powerful than love. Even the force, the energy that is released from the atom in the atom bomb or in nuclear weapons is not more powerful than love. Love causes people to even give up their life. So love is stronger than life. And people will die for their love because of their love for their country or love for humanity and so forth. But love, because it is so strong, it needs to be managed and it needs to follow a certain discipline. After the fall of human beings in the Garden of Eden, which was a sexual fall, and as a result, and caused human beings to fall into spiritual and physical ignorance, and especially human beings fell into ignorance regarding love. And so after that, human beings, just like animals, we can assume were having basically sex with anything that moved, basically, with their mothers, with their sisters, with their brothers and fathers, and with animals even. So anything that a man could stick his penis into and enjoy that sensation. This is what they were doing. While the Israelites were going through the wilderness after they escaped Egypt, God said to them through Moses, you have to stop doing this. You can't be like the Egyptians, and also you cannot be like the Canaanites, whose land that you're going to. You have to follow these rules. And we see in Leviticus chapter 18, that God gives a series of rules. Don't do this, don't do that. Don't have sex with your mother. Don't have sex with your father's wife. Don't have sex with your sister. Don't have sex with your father's daughters, or this, that, and the other thing. And also don't have sex with animals, and also don't have sex with people of the same gender. Don't lie with women as you would with a man, I think is the wording. Let me go to Leviticus. Let me get my Bible here and go to Leviticus 18 right now, because it's actually a very important thing here. Leviticus 18. Okay, here. And thou shalt not lie with any beast to defile thyself. Okay. And let's see here. Not your neighbor's wife. Okay. And where you see now, and here. And I know some people right now are trying to say that this is a mistranslation, but I don't think that that is the case. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Verse 18:22, Leviticus 18:22. Thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind. It is abomination. It is abomination. Well, God is very clear. And this was part of the sexual revolution that God initiated then with the Israelites as they were coming out of Egypt and on their way to Canaan. So the message here was that after the fall, then for the first time, God was able to give these rules about sex and about love, about sexual purity to human beings. Now we see in the Old Testament, the people sometimes point out that Jacob had 2 wives and then 2 handmaids, so basically 4 women with whom he had sex and had children and all this kind of thing. Yeah, because people were on their way up from total ignorance to sort of beginning to understand the discipline of love and the discipline of absolute sex. And today, of course, we are far, far beyond that. And we understand that in marriage, you're not supposed to be unfaithful. You're supposed to have this love relationship only with your wife and not with, or with your husband and not with anyone else. Okay. All right, let's see here. I'm getting warning messages from the government about the rain that's going on outside. Okay, let's see. I have a question here. Can individuals preparing for the blessing recite the family pledge? Yes, they can. Should the family pledge be said on a regular basis? For example, I've heard it should be said 5 times a day. Is that true? Well, you can do 5 times a day if you want. I'm sure. I don't think there's any rule on how many times you can do it. If you want to do it 5 times, that's fine. My wife and I, we do it once a day, but you can do it 5 if you like. I don't see any problem with that. I don't, some church services recite part of the family pledge or all of it every Sunday. That's okay too. All right, let's see here. Then accordingly, the true family is the eternal homeland of humankind. Of course, true family here doesn't just refer to the Father's true family, but we are all supposed to form true families. That is to say, families centered on God, composed of people who are maintaining the discipline of love and the absolute sexual purity and purity of lineage and purity of love. I'm trying to go to the next slide here. Okay. And the family pledge is the backbone, the core and order of the family. When I say order here, order as in discipline, the absolute standard for realizing Cheongguk and the core of its constitution. And in case there's someone out there who doesn't know what Cheongguk is, this is actually a shortened form of a longer title that Father gave to the ideal kingdom of God. Father called the ideal kingdom of God the 천주 평화 통일국. 천주 평화 통일국. 천주 means cosmos or cosmic, and 평화 is peace. 통일 is unification, and 국 is country or kingdom. And so Father said, well, that's a long name, so let's shorten it. Let's take, instead of 천주, let's take the 천 from 천주. Let's take the 일 from 통일, and then let's keep the 국 at the end, so 천일국. So in English, I think what is it? The cosmic kingdom of peace and unification, right? Cosmic kingdom of peace and unification. This is the title that the English translation of the title that Father gave. Please don't consider the English translations to be authoritative. They are copies at best of what Father intended, and that's why it's important really for us to strive to be able to study this content in Korean if we can. I see Father as a translator. He took God's truth and translated it as best he could into the human language, the best human language that was prepared to receive the truth, which was Korean. what is the reference for finding the full name of Cheonilguk? I don't have a reference for you right now. I'll try to get that for you later on. Perhaps I'll be able to give it to you during a later lecture. I'll have to find it during the break. Okay, thank you for that question, though. All right, and also the family pledge is the gospel of gospels for connecting our lives with God. It's the key for opening the gate of the kingdom of heaven. And it's the prayer of prayers, the blessing of blessings given by heaven to humankind. And the family pledge is the record of the victories won during the life of the true parent. Here we're translating true parent in the singular. And, it used to be that we would always, without exception, translate it in the plural. But in Korean, there often is no distinction between singular and plural. Sometimes there is, but the majority of times there is not. And so when we say the word for true parent in Korean is 참 부모, it's not clear whether this refers to father alone or to father and mother both. But there was a place where father said that 참 부모 was a title given to Reverend Moon. And he used the word, he didn't say me, he said Reverend Moon. 참 부모 is a title given to Reverend Moon by God. And so then we realized that, okay, that's, by the way, in the Cheonseongeong. It's also in the English Cheonseongeong. I'm sure you can find it if you have an electronic version. You can search for it yourself, where Father makes that statement. So then it's on that basis that we realize that sometimes true parent has to be translated in the singular, sometimes in the plural. All right? And the family pledge is comprised of 8 verses. Okay. If it was Korean, then would it have been Aramaic, which Jesus spoke? Yes, I think probably, I don't know. The Jewish scriptures, of course, were written in Hebrew, and Jesus, of course, spoke Hebrew as well. So I don't know if it would have been Aramaic or Hebrew, but one of the two, I think, if Jesus had been able to form his family, and if the providence had been successful at Jesus' time, then probably I suspect the entire world would have been having to learn Hebrew, I think. Please tell us specifically about how our family will also complete the 3 great kingships and the realm of the royal family. Thank you. Okay, well, all right, a family person, Sweden. Okay, we'll get to that. We'll get to that here when we get to verse 3 of the family pledge. All right. So first, let's start going through the family pledge verse by verse. Now here, I'm giving the Korean as well as the English. And the reason is that the English, because of the grammar, is in a different order from the Korean. But it's important for us to at least to be able to understand the Korean in the original. And I think it would be very good for anyone who is truly committed to Father's teachings to make the effort to memorize the family pledge in Korean. I think the family pledge and also the national anthem, those 2 things, I think if you could memorize those and understand each word, I think it would be a tremendous thing. And I think it would greatly improve your relationship with true Father. So here, family pledge in Korean begins with the word that we already studied, Cheonilguk, right? Here's the word Cheonilguk. We know that is the abbreviation or the shortened form of the Cheonju Pyeongwa 통일국, which the kingdom of a cosmic kingdom of peace and unity. Cheonilguk 주인, and 주인 means what? It means owner. We have it down here, owner, and we'll study in a minute. We'll study about what that means. And then here, 우리 가정은 우리 means our, 가정 you may realize means family. 은 is a sort of a particle that indicates that the 가정 is a noun and that it's the subject of this sentence. 참 사랑을, 사랑 you may know is love, and 참 means true. 중심 means center. 하고 is a couple of Korean syllables that we put on the end of of nouns sometimes in order to turn them into verbs. So in Korean, in English, this will be centering, right? Centering, okay? And so the English version starts with our family, the owner of Cheonryuk. But here, and true love comes at the end, right, in the English version. And because of the grammar, there's really no other choice. But Father puts this at the end. 천유국 주인 우리 가정은 참 사랑을 중심하고. And this line repeats itself in all eight cases. All eight cases. So you can see that this is really the central part of the family pledge. Unfortunately, in the English, this is broken up into two pieces at the beginning and at the end because of the English grammar. Okay, so here, 천유국, 주인, owner, 우리, our, 가정, family, 참, true, 사랑, love, centering on. And is also another one of those grammatical particles. And we're not going to be teaching Korean grammar right now, so we're not going to worry about it. Okay, so centering on true love, our family, which is the owner of Cheonryuk. This is how a more direct, more literal translation of the Korean. Okay, and then 본향 땅 or 찾아. 본향 땅. 본향 땅. 땅 is a land, and 본향 means original homeland. And 땅 also is land or dirt. 본향 땅 or earth. 찾아. 찾아 is an interesting word. So it literally means to seek. But Father uses it in a slightly different way. Often when you realize that actually he's not saying, we're not going out there seeking something that's already out there. Instead, when he uses 찾아 or the sort of the infinitive form of 찾다 or 찾는다, he's saying we want to establish this. We want to create this. It's not something that's out there that we're going out to find, right? We're not going to find it. But if you're looking for something, if you're going to find something, it's out there. It already exists objectively. But that's not what Father means in most cases when he uses this word. It means that we're going to create it, we're going to establish it. Okay? 그냥 땅을 찾아. So here, this is translated into English as seek, 찾는다 is seek. But I think also not just seek, but to establish, because here also our original homeland, it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. It never came into existence because Adam and Eve fell. So we're not seeking something that already exists. Rather, we need to establish something. 본연 means the original. 본연. 창조 이상인. 창조 means creation. And 이상 is ideal. So this is a phrase that you often see in Father's teaching. 본연의 창조 이상. The original ideal of creation. 본연의 창조 이상. This is a good one to remember. 본연의 창조 이상. Original ideal of creation. 지상 천국. So 지상 means on earth. 천국 means heaven. 과 means and. 천상 means heaven. 천국. Again, heaven. So the earthly heaven and the heavenly heaven, or the kingdom of, so the earthly heaven and sort of heavenly heaven, I guess would be the literal translation, but it means a spiritual world heaven, right? 창건할. 창건 is a word that Father would often talk about. He said, we're not rebuilding something, we're building something for the first time. So that's why 창 means to create and 건 means to build. And so we're building the kingdom of heaven, but we're building it for the first time. That's what 창건 means. They're creating it by building it. 맹세 하나이다. So this is what we pledge. So the 맹세 comes at the end. Okay. Here in the English, pledge comes there in the first part of the sentence, but in Korean it's at the end. We pledge all of this we pledge. Okay. And here about owner, an owner is someone who takes an interest in something and takes responsibility, and protects something, and nurtures it. Okay. Let's see. We started a bit late today, and so I'm going to go do about 55 minutes or so in each of these lectures, and then we'll take a 5-minute break, and then we'll continue. And I'm not exactly sure when we started, but I think it was around 20 or 25, was it? I suspect. Okay. So anyway, we'll go right now to, I think it's been about, let's see, about 50 minutes now. So we'll go to 7:20 and then Eastern time. All my times are going to be Eastern U.S. times. And then we'll go, then we'll take a break, a 5-minute break, okay? Is that what I meant to say? 45, 50? No, I guess we'll do 7:20. Yeah, I think that's right, okay. All right, let's do one more. Let's do verse 2, okay? And here, because it's long, I'll put the English version on the next slide. Okay, so we'll go through the Korean first. 천일국, okay, 천일국, again, 주인, 우리 가정은 참 사랑을 중심하고. So we have the same line at the beginning. Okay, we have that, already know what that is. 천일국 is the shortened form of 천주 평화 통일국, or the 천, meaning, 천일국, meaning the cosmic kingdom of peace and unity. 주인, owner, 우리, our, 가정, family, 참, true, 사랑, love, 중심, centering, 중심하고. 하고, 중심 will be the noun, but 하고 makes it a verb. 하나님과, so God, 참 부모님을 모시어. So 모시어 means to attend. 모시다 is the infinitive. 모시어, to attend, attending God and true parents. Or here, I think, I believe we're translating it in the plural, aren't we? Place representative God and true parents, right? Attending God and true parents. Yes, we're translating it in the plural, and that would make sense. Okay, 천주의. So 천주, again, the cosmos, and Father would take words that already exist in the Korean language and give them new meanings, new definitions. And of course, if you look up the word 천주 in a Korean dictionary, it'll have a meaning, but Father's meaning is different from what's in the dictionary. His definition of 천주 is the combination of the physical world and the spirit world. In other words, the entirety of God's creation. And you're not going to find that in the dictionary, but that's Father's definition. 천주의 대표적, 대표 means a representative, 가정, family. 되다 is the verb here, become. 중심적, and 중심 we have again here, the center, but 적, instead of making this a verb, is going to make it an adjective. 가정이 되어, family, becoming a family, become a representative family and a central family of 천주. 의 makes this a possessive. 가정에서는, so 가정에서는 in the family, 효자, filial child, 국가, in the nation, 중심. 중심 literally means loyal subject, but in the English we translate this as patriot, and I think that's fine. But remember that God's kingdom of heaven is a kingdom. The kingdom of heaven is a kingdom, kind of stating the obvious, but when we actually get down to it, some people are surprised when they realize that we're actually talking about a kingdom. Can't see. Okay, can you summarize the essence of each verse of the family pledge? Well, I think that's what we're doing, isn't it? Anyway. 국가에서는 충신, 세계에서는 성인, saint. Are you saying that we're spending too much time on the verses? Is that what you're saying? Is there a resource for the Korean words in the family pledge with original translation minus grammar similar to dictionary? Well, you said it, dictionary. Dictionaries are a good source. Yes, there are online dictionaries. Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, look these words up in a dictionary, and I recommend that you actually buy a paper dictionary rather than relying on online dictionaries. I think that there's a certain amount of work, effort that has to go into learning a language, and online dictionaries make it too easy. Now, I use an online dictionary, but that's because I'm already beyond the state where I need to do. But I used to have a paper dictionary, okay? And let me just unshare this. And in a paper dictionary, the side of this is a Bible, but the side of the dictionary became completely black because I was using it so often. I was looking at words so often. And whenever someone's learning a language, I look at their dictionary. And the side of that dictionary, how dirty that side is, tells me how much work they've actually put into learning that language. I know there are all sorts of other software stuff like that that are supposed to be able to teach you languages now. Maybe they work. I don't know. But in my mind, you got to put work into it. So I think buying a paper dictionary is well worth it. I have see a question here. One person thanking for a detailed explanation, and another person saying, wanting a succinct summary of each verse. Well, I think if you want a succinct summary, go to the English version of the Family Pledge. I don't think giving succinct summaries is what we do here in the OSDP workshop. We do deep. We don't do succinct. Okay. Let me see here. How do the verses of the Family Pledge relate to one another in succinct description by necessarily defining the words? How do the verses of the Family Pledge relate to one another in a succinct description by necessarily defining the words? I have to think about that for a while. The phrase that comes up in medicine and geology is ontology recapitulates phylogeny, the life stories, stages of individual, follows all of the life stages of the phylum. Okay, well, thank you for that information. Okay, all right, okay. All right, so let's continue. Yeah, detecting, you can, I've already made this background so that when I'm not in front of the camera, people can still see that, we're on break. So you can just leave the screen up. All right, let's go back here to the file. Okay, and here I'm talking about in the nation, a loyal servant, loyal citizen, or loyal subject, or a patriot. And then in the world, Songin is a saint. 천주에서는 성자 means holy child. And in the English, it's translated here as the divine sons and daughters, right? In heaven and earth. Well, actually, this is 성인 천주에서는 성자. 성자 means actually the child of God, or the holy child. 가정의 도리. And the 도리 is a word that in the English here is translated as the dutiful family way, 가정의 도리. And that's not a very good translation in my opinion. 도리 is what is expected of one, according to the laws of nature, or just the natural way that things are. For example, in a husband and wife, certain things are expected of a husband, and certain things are expected of the wife, or a child, certain things are expected of a child. Among siblings, the older sibling is expected to take care of the younger siblings, right? And so forth, and also to help around the house and things like that. This is the 가정의 도리. So here it's translated as dutiful family way. That may be kind of a less not so clear of a translation. All right, one song here is we're going to complete this, and here this is translated as perfect in the English official English translation, and as the asterisk says, it's complete, maybe a more accurate translation. And we can get into this again. We do this every year. How to translate 완성. And, I have sort of been pushing for this to be translated as complete rather than to perfect. To me, when you're building a building, this is an example that I always give, so you've heard this before maybe. You're building a building and you're finished with it, okay? You finished building it. And you go to the owner and you say, okay, it's complete. We're finished, it's complete. Now, because it's complete, you can start using it for the purpose for which you built this building. And to me, that fits very well with what happens in the maturation of human beings. As human beings are created as infants, and then we go through a growing period. And in the growing period, we go through a process of completing our character. And that's the first blessing. Complete, not perfecting. I think perfect means what? Does it mean you're not going to make a mistake? Does it mean that you're always going to spell your words correctly? That your math is never going to be wrong? I think that creates a false understanding of wansong, which is the word that Father uses in Korean. So I much prefer complete. To complete the dutiful way of the filial sons and daughters in our families, patriots, and nation, saints in the world, and divine sons and daughters in heaven and earth, by centering on true love is the English translation. All right, and then number 3. And number 3 is probably maybe the most basic, the most important of the 8 verses. Here we start with the same line at the beginning. 천일국. 천일국 is the shortened version of a 천주평화 통일국, the cosmic kingdom of peace and unity. 주인, owner. 우리 is our, family, 가정. 참, true, 사랑, love. 중심, center, and 하고 makes that a verb, so centering on true love. Okay. 사대 심정권. 사 is the number 4, right? The 4 great realms of 심정, and the 삼대 왕권, and the 4 realms of kingdom, of a kingship, or 3. So now there's a debate on whether this should be translated as 3 great kingships or 3 generation kingships. And I think the answer is that both, depending on the context. Bangjokwan is the realm of the royal family. Wansong Kusur Mengseane. So again, here we have Wansong. We have Wansong again. So a realm of the royal family. The 4 great. Let's look at it in English. The way that's officially translated, pledges to perfect, or in my mind, to complete the 4 great realms of 심정. See, this is why heart has been used to translate 심정 in the past, but let's not even think about that. So 4 great realms of 심정. So what are the 4 great realms of 심정? Well, we'll see later on that the 4 great realms of 심정 are the 심정 of the child, 심정 of siblings, 심정 of husband and wife, and 심정 of parents. And since love flows from 심정, those are also the 4 types of love that we have. The love of child to the parents, the love of siblings to each other, love of husband and wife to each other, and then the love of parents to their children. And then the 3 great kingships is how it's often translated, or 3 generation kingships. 3 generation or 3 great kingships, but they're really the same, because the 3 great kingships refer to 3 generations: the grandparents, the parents, and the children. The 3 generation kingships representing the past, present, and the future. And the realm of the royal family by centering on true love. Realm of the royal family simply means your cousins and your aunts and uncles and things like this. Okay. Here it says, I think the definition of perfection is that anything that fulfills its purpose. Okay, that's a good idea. If the English translation of the Korean language is not completely precise, why has it not been redone? Well, the nature of the English language is that it cannot be precise. And this is why we need to learn Korean. Does that answer your question? I hope it does. Okay. And so also we are learning as we go along, even within English. There can never be a perfect translation in English. But as we go along and as we understand Father's words more deeply, we are able to translate it a little more accurately, I think. And I think, for example, the switch from perfect to complete is one of those things that I've been sort of advocating, but it has to reach a certain consensus before it can be changed. We can't change these things overnight. But in any case, the answer, of course, is for people to understand the word wansong in and of itself, not be relying on English translation. Relying on English translation this way is like when some of you learned how to ride a bicycle and you may have had training wheels on the back, right? At some point, you had to take off those training wheels. After a while, it gets kind of embarrassing, right, to have those training wheels on the back of your bicycle. I let's see, I don't know if I had training wheels on my bike when I learned, but anyway, yeah. Otherwise, you're falling over all the time. That's the other way to learn. But translation is basically, it's a crutch, it's a training wheel, and at some point you have to throw away the crutch. You take off the training wheels and learn this stuff and understand this stuff and study this stuff in the original language that it was intended to be communicated in. So anyway, the royal family. No, the royal family is the extension of the nuclear family. It's the siblings go off and form their own families, and so the whole cousins and aunts and uncles and everything like that constitutes the royal family. Does the royal family mean true father's family? Well, of course, true father's family is a royal family, but all of us are supposed to form these royal families. But yes, true father's family and father's lineage is certainly the main royal family, you could say. All right, let's continue. So 3 kingships and 3 generation kingships are one and the same. Well, if they were one and the same, we wouldn't have 2 words, would they? So, but as it happens in the Korean, the 2 have the same pronunciation. So it depends on the context and on whether you're emphasizing the generation or the greatness. But the generations are great, yeah, so it's both. Okay. All right, let's go to number 4. 천일국 주인 우리 가정은 참 사랑을 중심하고. So just to make sure that you learn this, let's go through this once again. 천일국, the shortened version of a 천주 평화 통일국, the cosmic kingdom of peace and unity. 주인, owner, 우리, our, 가정, family, 참, true, 사랑, love, 중심, center. 하나님의 창조 이상인. So 하나님, I'm sure you understand, I'm sure you know that one is God, right? 하나님. And remember here, we're going left to right, top to bottom in all these. Sometimes if there's not a bottom, then that's okay. We just go left to right. 하나님. 창조 이상. We had this once before. The ideal of creation. 하나님의 창조 이상. So God's ideal of creation. 천주. We have 천주 again. Cosmic, right? Cosmos or cosmic. 대가족을. So great family or extended family. 형성하여, form. So we're forming the cosmic extended family. And this refers to ourselves and also our ancestors in the spirit world. In other words, that the lineage going all the way back up into the spirit world, all the ancestors. 자유 means freedom. 평화, peace. 통일, unity. 행복, happiness. 세계를. So the world of freedom, peace, unity, and happiness. 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다. We pledge to complete that. Okay? And here it is in the official English version. Our family, the owner of 천일국, pledges to build the universal family. So universal family makes it sound like this is sort of the universal sort of brotherhood of man and that kind of thing. But no, this refers to the vertical relationship between us here on earth, our children, but also back, our grandparents and great grandparents and all of our ancestors up there, encompassing heaven and earth. So encompassing heaven and earth means encompassing spirit world, and again, spirit world and the physical world. Yeah, okay. I won't criticize past translations too much, but it's unfortunate. Anyway, okay, let's just move on. Which is God's ideal of creation, and perfect the world of freedom, peace, unity, and happiness by centering on true love. And as time goes on, we learn Father's words more deeply, and so and we also learn the importance of being as faithful as possible to the Korean. And here, the word 천주 or cosmos has been changed to heaven and earth, which is not technically wrong, because the definition of cosmos in Father's teaching is the combination of spirit world and physical world. But Father chose to give it just one word, and then maybe we should follow that. But anyway, so here, heaven and earth. Anyway, so all right, and then verse 5, 천일국 주인 우리 가정은 참 사랑을 중심하고. Again, 천일국 주인, owner, and our family, true love, center. 매일 means every day. 주체적 means subject. 천상 세계와 천상 is mean heavenly. 세계 is world, so heavenly world, which is the 주체적 or subject partner. 재상적 지상 세계, and the object partner. 재상 is object, and 지상 세계, earthly world. 통일을 향해, unity. So, and 향해 means going toward, moving toward. 전진적 발전. 발전 means development, and forward development. 촉진화, facilitate. And we pledge to facilitate this. Let's see what the official English says. Our family, the owner of China Group, pledges to strive every day to advance the unification of the spirit world and the physical world as subject and object partners by centering on true love. I think by pointing out the deficiencies of the English translation, I hope I give you more motivation to study the Korean and get this directly in Korean. There's too much, especially in the English realm. I think there's too much of an assumption that the English language is perfect, and it is capable of expressing anything. That's my impression that I get. And there is that kind of bias, I think, among English speakers, especially English speakers of a certain country that I shall not name. Maybe that's the reason that certain English speakers choose not to learn or don't feel the need to learn other languages very deeply. But anyway, that's my impression. All right, so advancing the unification of the spirit world and physical world. And here, okay, 6, now 천유국. 주인 is owner, 우리, our, 가정, family. 참 is true, 사랑 is love. 중심, center. 하나님과 참 부모님, 하나님 is God. 참 부모님 is true parents. 대신 가정, 대신 means representative, and 가정 is family, as a representative family of God and true parents. 천 is heaven, and un is a fortune, right? So heavenly fortune. 움직이는 means a verb, meaning to move. 가정이 되어 become a family that moves, heavenly fortune. And then 하늘의 축복, the blessing of heaven. Of course, this refers to the holy blessing. 주변에 연결시키는, 주변 means our surrounding, and connecting our surrounding, in other words, our neighbors and everyone around us, connect them to the blessing of heaven, in other words, holy blessing of true parents. 가정을 완성할 것을 맹세하리다. We're going to complete a family that accomplishes all that. Okay? And this is the official English translation. Pledges to become a family that moves heavenly fortune by embodying God and true parents. There's nothing here about embodying God and true parents. What does it mean about it? There's nothing there about it. 대신 가정으로서. It says representing true parents. There's nothing about embodying in the Korean. Embodying God and true parents, and to perfect a family or complete a family that conveys heaven's blessing to our community by centering on true love. All right. And then 7, 천유국 주인, 우리 가정은, so 천유국 owner, 우리, our, family, true love, center, 본연 is original, 혈통, lineage, 연결된, so connecting to the original lineage, 우리 하는 생활을 통하여. So life of living for the sake of others, through a life of living for the sake of others, 심정 문화 세계. This is a world of 심정 culture, completing a world of a 심정 culture, and this is what we are pledging. 심정 culture, a world of 심정 culture. Wouldn't that be fantastic, right? And here it says, our family, the owner of China Group, pledges through living for the sake of others to perfect the world based on the culture of heart, which is rooted on the original lineage by centering on true love. Mm-hmm. World based on the culture of heart, or the culture of 심정, of course, not heart. All right, and then verse 8 finally, 천유국 주인, 천유국 owner, our family, true love, center. 성약 시대를 맞이하여. So, 맞는다 means to, that's what we are greeting, or we are entering the 성약 시대, the completed testament era, completed testament age. 절대 신앙, 절대 사랑, 절대 복종. I'm sure you've heard this before. Absolute faith, absolute love, absolute obedience, and we establish the ideal of the oneness of God and human beings in love, and complete the realm of liberation and of complete freedom in the earthly heaven and the spirit world heaven, in the heavenly heaven. And the official English translation is the only of pledges having entered the completed testament age to achieve the ideal of God and human beings united in love through absolute faith, absolute love, and absolute obedience, and to perfect the realm of liberation and complete freedom and kingdom of God on earth and in heaven by centering on true love. Of course, in the Cheonseongyong, there's a whole chapter going through each of these verses. If you're interested in going through it even more deeply, it's at the end of Cheonseongyong, in the book on true families and the family pledge, and chapter 2, Father goes through. There are actually not just Father, but there's a collection of Father's words where he refers to each of these verses one by one, and it goes from page here 2289 all the way to 2423. So more than 100 pages, not quite 200 pages of analysis and comment by Father himself on each verse of the family pledge. Okay, thank you. All right, so that is the family pledge. The Father told us that always begin the study of OSDP with the family pledge, and so that is what we have done. Next, we're going to go through some of the reasons that we need to study the original substance of a divine principle, or one would say a divine principle ontology is another way of expressing that. Okay, fundamentally, we can say this very simply. Well, the world is going to hell in a handbasket, and we need to fix it. It's up to us to fix it, and this teaching is what gives us the tool to do that. Father makes the point that other churches, traditional Christian churches, focus on saving the individual, not just Christianity, but other religions as well, bringing salvation to the individual. But the Unification Church brings salvation to the family, but also it exists for the sake of bringing salvation to the world. And everything in the world, everything that is wrong in the world needs to be fixed by us, or through Father's teaching. And we have been called to do that. And as blessed central families, we are the chosen people of God, through whom God is going to do that. Yes, our numbers are few, but that's fine. Jesus started with 12. There are more than 12 of us. So we'll look at the reasons to study divine principle, or the OSDP. And the first reason, it says here, is to resolving all the problems in the real world, in the actual world. So in the world, there are problems with the view of human life, the view of God. And here we see if we go through the list, we see that there are conflicts between mind and body, and confrontation and struggle. And of course, the wars that we have, these are simply external expressions of conflicts within the body, between the mind and body. And confrontation and struggle at every level of a human society, not just international, but even in society and in families, among siblings, and between different groups, different races, different economic classes, and so forth. And within the family issues, there's a divorce, infidelity, and breakdown of the family. If the family is supposed to be the basic unit of the kingdom of heaven, then there should not be divorce or infidelity. But that's exactly what we have. And that's one of the basic problems why there's so much wrong with the world right now. Immorality among teens and young adults. Teenagers think of sex as just something that you do it because it feels good, right? And also homosexuality and same-sex marriage and AIDS. Homosexuality is clearly an abomination before God, not just because God is somehow biased, but because it undermines and destroys his original ideal of creation. And this is not something that is arbitrarily decided by Christianity or by the true Father. If you buy a car, then you have to follow the owner's manual, right? And if you put diesel into a car that's supposed to take gasoline, then it's going to break down. Well, yeah, and that's exactly what is happening here. And abortion, gender ideology, school violence, labor management, racial relations, international relations, religious conflicts, and spiritual phenomena, environmental pollution. Of course, human beings, because we are fallen, we have not been exercising proper dominion over the environment. That is certainly true. Food shortages, there's actually enough food to feed everyone in the world, and yet people are dying of starvation every day. And how is that going to get fixed? Well, it's going to get fixed by blessed families using the tools that are given to us by the Concheron to go out and fix this. And also the struggles between different ideologies, democracy, communism, or the free world of communism, and so forth, and all the global issues around the world, and the conflicts that are going on within philosophy and so forth, and also all the problems that we have with education as well. So we have a huge burden on our shoulders, but of course we're not the ones who are going to do it, but God is going to be using us as his tools, as his hands and feet to go out and fix these problems in the world. But it's all our responsibility, fundamentally, because it is human responsibility. And God has selected a few of us to be his chosen ones, not that that is an honor or glory, but so that we can live for the sake of the world, so that we can suffer for the sake of the world and bring about his kingdom for the happiness of all humanity. And also there's a problem with the people's view of God, and that then because of the differences in view of God, there's a difference in view of life and marriage and nation, world, history, universe, and history. And so also how human beings are seen, and the true values, how to distinguish right from wrong. How do people know what is right and what is wrong, good versus, without understanding of God, and without an understanding of God's teachings and his word that he gives to us? Different people have different values of what is good and what is evil. But God has absolute value. A value is not good and evil are not relative things that the different people can decide. For Hitler, killing 6 million Jews was good in his mind. But obviously in God's mind, that was a tremendous evil. Same with Mao Zedong. When someone pointed out to him that he was killing, or his ideology was resulting in the deaths of millions or tens of millions of his people, he was saying, well, we got plenty more people, so it's not a problem. In his mind, those deaths were okay. But God grieved for every one of those deaths. So what is true and what is untruth? What is, these days talk about what news and fake news, right? Or information and disinformation, misinformation. But in reality, though, we see that many times what is originally labeled as misinformation later turns out to be true information. So how do we know what is, and how do we know what is true and what is false? Okay. And values determine our thoughts, and our thoughts determine our judgments determine our opinions determine our decisions determine our actions, and then our actions determine our lifestyles. So in order to resolve all these things, we need to understand God's teaching we need to understand God himself, not just God's teachings, but God himself and God's Shimjo. So we can, as the family pledge says, bring people around us, bring the world around us into contact and into relationship with God and his heavenly blessing, the holy blessing. we need to know how these problems occurred. They originated, all the human problems that we have today originated in the human fall. In Genesis 3, chapter 6. God created human beings, created Adam and Eve, and if Adam and Eve had believed in God's word and practiced it to reach a completion, they would have become the true parents, and God's ideal world of creation would have been realized right there. The three great blessings, as it says in the Genesis 1:28. Let me go here to Genesis 1:28 so we can get the exact words rather than from my memory. And God blessed them. And God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it and have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the fowl of the air and every living thing that moveth upon the earth. And also what's interesting here is that if we go to Genesis 9, let's go to Genesis 9, 1. In Genesis 9:1, God says, and here God is talking to Noah now, after the flood. And God blessed Noah and his sons and said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. Okay. And then here in 7, also 9:7, and you be fruitful and multiply, bring forth abundantly in the earth and multiply therein. And so he gave that same blessing to Noah that he gave to Adam and Eve, which is not surprising since, after Adam and Eve fell, Adam and Eve, the world really became a messed up place. And Noah was kind of a reboot, kind of a new start. God reduced the human population or depopulated the world down to one lineage so that human beings could restart. And so it's not surprising that he would give them the same blessing. But it should be noted, though, that the Father gave this blessing again because it is important. And also God gives us that blessing as well, to be fruitful, multiply, and have dominion over the earth. And because Adam and Eve fell, they could not become the true parents, and they became false parents and formed a false family. And the world became a world of evil on earth and in heaven because human beings no longer had a connection to God. Shimjong, when they lost the relationship with God, they lost the relationship with each other, and they came into conflict with each other. And you can even see that after God calls Adam and Eve, after they've fallen, he calls Adam and Eve and asks Adam what happened, and he blames Eve, right? He blames Eve, and then she blames the archangel, right? In Genesis 3, where he says, and you can see that they're blaming each other. Okay? And then Genesis 3:9, and then the Lord God called unto Adam and said unto him, where art thou? And he said, I heard thy voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, and I hid myself. And he said, who told thee that thou wast naked? Hast thou eaten of the tree whereof I commanded that thou shouldest not eat? And the man said, the woman whom thou gavest to me to be with me, she gave me the tree, and I did eat. So here he's not only blaming the woman, he's blaming God. Yeah, if you hadn't given me this woman, everything was okay until he gave me the woman, and then she did this to me. So he's blaming her. So already we see conflict between Adam and Eve here. And then God spoke to Eve and said, the Lord God said unto the woman, what is this that thou hast done? And the woman said, thou serpent beguiled me, and I did eat. Instead of taking responsibility, she also blamed the serpent. So no one was going to take responsibility. Instead, they're blaming each other. So already we see between Adam and Eve, there's conflict. And of course, there then was conflict, I'm sure, between their children and the parents. And finally, we see later that actually one of the sons killed the other. Cain killed Abel because of this conflict that now arose within the family after the fall. And it's that kind of conflict now between the mind and body expressed in these external forms that lies at the heart of all the problems that we have in the world today. This discipline of love. Adam and Eve were told to maintain the discipline of love, not to eat of the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And we'll see when we get to chapter 2, we'll see that the tree of knowledge of good and evil represented Eve, and the fruit represented her love. And they were supposed to they were not supposed to eat of that fruit. In other words, they were supposed to maintain sexual purity until such time as they had matured enough that they were able to manage love and have the ability to not just to maintain the discipline of love. To maintain the discipline of love is what I want to say. Okay? But they fell before that, so they married. They got together and they basically had sex with each other and married under Satan's control. Also having the spiritual fall first was the sexual fall with Satan, with the archangel. So now they were under his dominion, and then all the problems of the world resulted from that. All the wars and the famines and all the dictatorships and all the suffering that the human beings have gone through since then has all resulted from that point. Of course, there were opportunities along the way for human beings to repent and come back. Even within the relationship between Cain and Abel, there was an opportunity there for the satanic lineage to be cut off right there, and for the Messiah to come even at that time. But anyway, we'll get to that as we go through the history of the restoration. Okay, so the world became a world of evil on heaven and earth. This is the cause of the world's problems because humanity is born from false parents. In other words, we come from a false lineage. We come from parents who have themselves original sin, and so we are born into original sin. Even people who are born between two devout Christians are still born of original sin, and even those children who are born between Christian parents are in need of receiving Jesus into their lives. Otherwise, they cannot be saved. So is that going to be the case for all eternity? That every child born into the world for all eternity is going to be born under Satan's dominion and has to receive Jesus into his life at some point in his life? That doesn't make sense. God would not want Satan to have a permanent position in his creation. All right, so we cannot solve the problems of the real world. And why is this? Because humanity has descended from fallen Adam and Eve, has lost the true God. We are born centering on Satan. What true parents are doing through the holy blessing is cutting off that original sin and grafting us onto God's lineage, which is what Jesus would have done, wanted to do, if he had been able to marry, if he had been able to have a wife and have children. This is exactly what Jesus would have wanted to do. He would have been his lineage would have been the vine, the true olive tree that he talked about. And we would have all been, humanity would have been grafted onto that true olive tree, not just spiritually, but physically as well. And the kingdom of heaven would already be here. All right. So how do we resolve all the problems of the real world? So the problems came from the human fall. The true parent comes, and when the true parent comes and performs the holy blessing ceremony for the first time since the beginning of creation, true parent ideal begins. The completion of the ideal of creation will be accomplished. And the true parent must bring Satan to natural subjugation by fighting myriad Satans on earth and in the spirit world by means of the principle of restoration through indemnity to gain victory in each of the 8 vertical and horizontal stages laid by the false parent. Only then can true parents be manifested to complete God's ideal of creation, the declaration of Foundation Day. So here we have the 8 vertical and horizontal stages laid by the false parent. In other words, that were created by Satan. So, in the vertical stage, we begin at the level of human beings began at the level of the servant of servants. When human beings fell, we became the servant of the archangel. But the archangel himself is a servant of God. That's the mission of the angels, right? To be one of their missions is to be God's servant or messenger, and also to praise God. That was their original mission. So we became the servant of that servant. Adam and Eve became or fell down into that position below the archangel. This is why historically human beings have looked up to angels and thought that angels were in a higher position than us. And they were. Yeah, they were, because human beings fell to below the angels, became the servant of servants. So that servant of servants is the first stage on the vertical climb, the vertical restoration. And then once we form a somewhat closer relationship with God, then we're able to go be on the servant level, servant stage. And then with the coming of Jesus, then human beings then could be the adopted children of God, adopted sons and daughters of God. And then the next stage then is to be the Father says, the child of the concubine. In other words, having half the true lineage. The adopted child does not have either the father's lineage or the mother's lineage, but the child of the concubine at least has the father's lineage, the father's lineage. And then the fifth stage is the true child. That's the fifth stage. And then the next stage is the mother stage, and then the father stage, and then the eighth stage being God, being union with God. And on the horizontal level, the stages then are the family, the tribe, the ethnic group, the nation, the world, and the cosmos and God. Let's see. The family, tribe, okay, individual. Okay, we'll start with the individual. The individual, family, tribe. So, individual, family, tribe, ethnic group, okay, and then the nation, world, and then cosmos, and then God. So 8 stages also on the horizontal level. Manifested to complete God's ideal of creation on Foundation Day. And this was why Father had such hope for Foundation Day. This is the first day in 13th month of 2013, or the fourth year of Chungi that Father was really counting down toward. This was often mistranslated as January 13th. That confusion came by translating first month as January, but January is the name of the first month in the Roman calendar, but Father always used the heavenly calendar. So that was to have been on the Declaration of Foundation today. Since then, the second king of Cheongguk, Cheong Jin-moon, has accomplished the Foundation Day in stages. And now we celebrate the Foundation Day on the 8th month and 4th day by the heavenly calendar. And this year that is going to fall on September 18th. That ceremony is going to be held in Tennessee, Cheongpyeong. So Satan's world began with Adam and Eve committing the fall through illicit sex and becoming false parents centering on Satan. Let's be very clear here that yes, there was a actual sexual relationship between the archangel and Eve, where the archangel penetrated Eve with his sexual organ. The archangel is a incorporeal but substantial being. And actually, the spirit world, all the spirit beings are, spirit world is incorporeal but substantial. And we'll get to that in section 6, I believe, of chapter 1. So the world of God's ideal of creation comes about centered on God and in accordance with the true parents' teachings of the OSDP absolute sex. And absolute sex really talks about the discipline of love, being able to manage love and being able to control yourself and exercise love and use the force of love in the way that it was intended to be used. Centering on the true parent, all the world's problems will be resolved, and the world of the Cheongguk ideal of the original creation will be accomplished. And this is the most important reason for studying the original substance of the divine principle. So the war in Ukraine, people starving in many, many countries, the problems of communism, the organ harvesting in China, the execution of religious people in North Korea, all these things right now, and also the strange things going on in the schools in America, people being fired for trying to say that there are two genders. All these things have to be corrected and fixed so that this world can be the world of God's original ideal of creation, where people live in peace and unity and love and happiness. Everybody wants to be happy, right? Everybody wants to be happy. But right now, everybody's destroying each other and destroying ourselves in the process as well. So that can only be corrected by understanding God, and that is what OSDP is designed to do. All right, and let me see how much more time we have here. Here we have just under 10 minutes left, okay? And let's go to the next here. So, resolving the problems of the real world, how do these problems occur? What kind of being is fallen human beings? We need to understand that. We are a contradictory being. In other words, we're not able to actually live according to our own principles. Many times we know what is right, but we're not able to do what is right. We are the womb of good and evil. Sometimes we even though we have good intentions, or even with bad intentions, sometimes we do perform evil. So we are unprincipled in the sense that we are not completely good or completely evil. We are contradictions. So in that sense, we are unprincipled beings. We have fallen nature. We are born with original sin. Human beings are born with original sin. And so the mind-body conflict, there's a conflict between mind and body. And the Father talks about this as the war that never ends. He says other wars have peace treaties. They have sometimes the fighting will stop with the agreements to stop, but the war between the mind and body continues, and it's continued throughout history, and it has to come to an end at some point. Otherwise, we cannot fix this world. Mind and body conflict, confrontation, and struggle resulting from that. So this is talking here about contradictory being, and then we go through some Bible verses illustrating that. Famous one of Paul, Romans 7. Romans 7, 17 to 25. Now then, it is no more that I do it, but sin that dwelleth in me. This is Paul speaking. For I know that in me, that is in my flesh, dwelleth no good thing, for to will is present with me, but how to perform that which is good I find not. So I know what I'm supposed to do, but I'm not able to do it. For the good that I would, I do not, but the evil which I would not, that I do. Now, if I do that which I would not, it is no more than I that do it, but sin that dwelleth in me. I find then a law that when I would do good, evil is present with me. For I delight in the law of God after the inward man, but I see another law in my members, warring against the law in my mind, and bringing me into captivity to the law of sin, which is in my members. O wretched man that I am, who shall deliver me from the body of this death? I thank God through Jesus Christ our Lord. So then, with the mind, I myself serve the law of God, but with the flesh, the law of sin. And so he's talking about the contradiction here between mind and body here, that the mind wants to do good because it has an original mind, but also sometimes it wants to do evil because there's a contradiction actually in the mind itself. And the body has certain desires for sex and food and other things. So here, and the body demands these things, and even at the cost of if it means doing evil things, the body goes ahead and controls the mind instead of the other way around. So, and then 1 John 1 and 8. Let's just do one or two more of these. Is this going to take too much time? Okay. 1 John 1 and 8 and 10. If we say that we have no sin, we deceive ourselves, and the truth is not in us. If we confess our sins, he is faithful and just to forgive us our sins and to cleanse us from all unrighteousness. If we say that we have not sinned, we make him a liar, and his word is not in us. And going back to Romans Romans 3, 10 and 11. And that's, as it is written, there is none righteous, no, not one. There is none that understandeth, there is none that seeketh after God. And then Thessalonians, see if I can find Thessalonians quickly here, 5 and 17. Pray without ceasing. Pray without ceasing. Praise God. So this is where we are. And even if we have received the blessing, or even if we have been born from parents who received the blessing, we still have sin within us. Because as we will see later on, there are 4 kinds of sin. The original sin is only one of them. It is the root of all sins, but it is not the only sin. Let me look here to some of the questions here. Some Christians do not believe that it is possible to bring the kingdom of heaven on earth. So if you do not think something is possible, how can you bring it about? Yes, well, that's true. If you don't think it is possible, but it will come, whether they think it is possible or not. This is not something that will only happen if people think it is possible. And here, all these issues from the fall is what we see in the true family, is the second king's family restoring this as the example which we can follow. It is true that all manner of sin entered into our father's family, and we will get into that later in the lecture series. Father, for providential reasons, was not able to actually raise his own children, but had to leave this up to the people who are in the archangel position, that is the 36 blessed couples. But I think we need to remind ourselves that the people who joined Father, people who came to Father and started following Father, were not the people who were originally prepared by God to do so. I sometimes compare it to a baseball team. All right, baseball team, you have the first string, you have the senior varsity, you have the junior varsity, or the first string, second string. Well, in Father's case, the first string never took the field. They rejected him. This is what happened in 1945. And these were Christians that had been prepared to receive Father. And so the people who came to Father later on, that's great. Many really great people, and they went through tremendous suffering. They exhibited tremendous loyalty to Father. But you know what? They didn't have all the preparation that the first string had, the first initial people had. And I think we saw the result of this in many points. And I think one of the ways in which we saw this was that the people who were entrusted to raise Father's children in the archangel position were not able to do a good job. Now, fortunately, the second king and also Kukjinim, but especially the second king came through fine. They survived all of that. And yes, I would say that I don't know if restoring is the proper word, but they have established a family that is truly a model family, I would say, or I don't know if model is the right word, but is a loving family, and is the kind of family that I'm sure is making God very, very happy right now. And why not list those 8 vertical and 8 horizontal stages in this PDF? Okay, thank you for the suggestion. Does this contradiction between physical mind and physical body continue as we transition to spirit mind and spirit body? Well, we're not transitioning from one to the other. We already have a spirit mind and spirit body. But yes, there is certainly a contradiction there as well. Okay. We're going to get into the anatomy of the human being later on. But we are born with both a physical and spirit body, and physical and spirit mind, and there's a relationship between those. All right, I see we have less than 1 minute left on my timer, so let's go ahead and stop here, and we'll pick it up again 5 minutes from now. So today, first series of 3 lectures is supposed to stop at 9 a.m. Eastern U.S. time. But because we got a little bit late start, I think I'm going to go a little bit past 9 a.m. And then also we're going to resume right later today. Can someone remind me of when that is? Let's see here. I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. 7 to 10 Eastern. Okay. 7 in the evening Eastern time. All right. And some people were asking if that's going to be the same lectures as the morning, and it's not. It's going to be the continuation of the morning. Because of the time zones and everything like that, we're breaking it into 2 parts, a morning and evening. Anyway, that's what it is. Also, before I go on, I want to go back to this question about transitioning to the spirit world, this last questioner. It's important to understand that when we transition to the spirit world, we take our problems with us. Yeah. Some people think that when we die, we go to a better place, or some people say, well, probably in a better place. And in some cases, that might be true. If someone is suffering innocently, for example,